students, happy Friday. I have my cool sunglasses that I got on at the dollar store, and I have a new headband that I also got at the dollar store, but I'm going to give this one to Miss Dombrowski, brighten her day up a little bit. So I bought this for her because you can see it has these little unicorns, but I thought, oh, I'm going to dress up a little bit for today's Happy Friday video, except I cannot see with these glasses on. I need to put on my real glasses, and then we will start our lesson for today. So the first thing that I want to talk about on, Wednesday, I had you think about, I showed you the book that I am currently reading, and I asked you to share what you are currently reading. In addition to your school assignments, what else are you reading just for fun? And some of you shared your books with me on the document. Today, I want you to share what is in your TBR pile. TBR means to be read. Mrs. Ash has a huge TBR pile, and I'm going to share two books that are in my pile with you that I'm super excited to read. I haven't read them yet, but I'm excited to read them. So many of you read this one right here, American Born Chinese by Jean Luen Yang. And I book talked this one in class, and I read this one earlier during quarantine, and I really, really, really liked it. And then I heard about Mr. Yang's new book that just came out. So this one called Dragon Hoops by the same author just came out. So I have this really beautiful hard copy edition of the book that I'm super excited to read. And it's a big, heavy, long book with tons of really beautiful pictures. And it seems super interesting to me. It says it's another, just like American Born Chinese is a memoir. This one is a memoir about a time later in his life. So it says, Jean Luen Yang understands stories, comic book stories in particular, big action, big thrills, and the hero always wins. But Jean doesn't get sports. As a kid, his friends called him Stick, and every basketball game he played ended in pain. He lost interest in basketball long ago, but at the high school where he now teaches, it's all anyone can talk about. The men's varsity team, the Dragons, is having a phenomenal season that's been decades in the making. Each victory brings them closer to their ultimate goal, the California State Championship. Once Gene meets these young all-stars, he realizes that their story is just as thrilling as anything he's seen on comic book pages. He knows he has to follow this epic to its end. What he doesn't know yet is that this season is not only going to change the Dragons' lives, but his own life as well. So super interesting. So this was when he wrote this memoir about when he was in high school. And then I didn't even know this about him. He wrote this one about when he was a high school teacher, about him and some of his students' experiences. So I'm super excited to read that one. Another one I'm really excited to read is also by the same author, Jean Luen Yang. And I hadn't heard about it until I looked up his new book that was coming up. And then I saw, this one is another one that has had really good reviews. It's called Superman Smashes the Klan. And again, it's a graphic novel. And this one says, the year is 1946. So this is kind of mixed up genres here. It's historical fiction, but it's also fantasy, also comic book format. So it's kind of a mashup of a few different genres. But the year is 1948. Teenagers Roberta and Tommy Lee just moved with their parents from Chinatown to the center of Metropolis, home to the famous superhero Superman. Tommy makes friends quickly while Roberta pines for home. Then one night, the family awakens to find their house surrounded by the clan of the Fiery Cross. Superman leaps into action, but his exposure to a mysterious green rock has left him weak. Can Roberta and Tommy help him smash the clan? Inspired by the 1940s Superman radio serial, Clan of the Fiery Cross, New York Times bestselling author Jean Luen Yang brings us to a timely personal story of immigration, battling adversity, and finding home. So this is another one that's on my TBR list that I'm excited to read. So I want to know, what are you excited to read? What books have you heard Mrs. Ash book talk, but you haven't had a chance to read it yet? What books have you learned about that are new, or maybe even have been out for a long time that you just are interested in reading? Add them to this list. And next week, everybody that adds a book to this list, Mrs. Ash is going to put the book and I'm going to have little pieces of paper, and I'm going to write your name and the book that you want. I'm going to put them all in a little hat, and live next week I'm going to do a drawing, and whoever's name that I pick, I'm going to send you that book through. I'll order it on Amazon and just put your address in, and it will come straight to your house. So for those of you who have been watching all of our videos, you might know that, there might be a few students that have just not been watching all of the videos they should be watching and getting all the lessons that they should be getting. But so spread the word that this week's video, there is an opportunity to win a new book. So good luck, and I'm super excited to see what you are excited to read. So make sure you add your information there. So today's assignment for Friday, for the past 2 weeks, we have been looking at all different formats of nonfiction. So we learned that nonfiction books don't just look like textbooks or novels. They take many, many, many different formats. And we've dug in deeply and looked closely at a bunch of different formats. And today you're going to evaluate. So the assignment says, now that you have explored a wide variety of nonfiction mediums, let's do some evaluation. What are the positives and negatives of each format? After reflecting, complete this evaluation form. There is a copy in your Google Classroom. So your evaluation form looks like this. And the directions say, think about the advantages and disadvantages of presenting and reading or viewing information in the following mediums. Jot down your thoughts. So podcasts, what's appealing about this format? What are the pros of this format? And what's tricky about viewing or reading or listening in this format? So what I think is appealing is that I can be doing one thing that is appealing to me as a reader is that I can listen to the podcasts and be doing something else. So I can be doing, like I said, I do the dishes and I listen to podcasts, and it helps kind of my boring tasks makes them a little bit more interesting. So that's one thing that's appealing. Remember, for each of these, there will be probably more than one thing that's appealing and probably more than one thing that is a drawback or tricky about this format. So then I would go over to this side and I would think about what's tricky about this format. And for me, podcasts, what's tricky about it is that oftentimes when I am listening, I do find my mind wandering. So I have to make sure that I'm doing something like taking a walk or doing the dishes so that my body can be busy, but my mind can stay focused. So oftentimes I find my mind wandering. Another drawback to me is that because I am doing something else, if something is interesting to me, or I want to jot that down, or I want to remember that, I might be out walking the dog, or I might have a handful of soapy water, and I think to myself, I'm going to go back and I'm going to write that down later. And oftentimes I never do. So that's why I told you for this format, oftentimes keeping your body busy by jotting down notes is a good way to keep your mind from wandering when you're just listening. So those are some pros and cons of the podcast genre. I want you to think about, what do you think the pros are about this genre, and what are the cons of this genre, and just make a bulleted list here, and then do that for each of the formats that we looked at over the last few weeks. What are the pros and cons of short documentary films? What are the pros and cons of interactive articles, infographics? What else did we take a look at? I think I need to add one more box here. What am I missing? I know, interactive articles. Maybe that is it. Picture books, maybe I'll add that too. So once you've finished this, that is your only assignment. There will be a copy of it in your Google Classroom. Please submit it there. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you later.